Good afternoon, everyone. Is this on?
Yes.
Thanks for joining us today. Our luncheons are a great way to network and learn more about what's happening in Sun Prairie and elsewhere, keeping current on our community and business issues. First of all, though, I'd like to ask if we have any new chamber members to stand and introduce yourself. Let us know the name of your company. I know we have some when you guys are eating. Let's stand up.
Hi, we're from Pasco. My name is Laura. I'm the membership marketing manager. This is Shadow, who's my membership supervisor. And next week we're starting our huge marketing campaign. So we're going to be going out to all the local businesses, letting everyone know when we're opening, sharing information. We're also opening up our vestibule starting next Monday. So if you want to come to the warehouse to sign up prior to opening, you can do so. We'll be open from 10 to 6 daily. And I'll make sure to get a lot of information over to the chamber. And we can exchange business cards through our email address. We can give you the information for the businesses for your employees as well. So we're excited to be in the November 15th is the grand opening at 8 a.m.
What is vestibule?
The vestibule is just the front part of our warehouse. We'll have that part open up. The rest of it, we're still working on receiving all of our product and all that good stuff. So a little chaotic in there.
Thanks. Any other new members?
I'm just visiting from around the corner. I'm Carrie Mayer from Brothers Business Interiors. We're a new division of Copley Brothers. So Copley Brothers Warehouse is just around. I thought I could have walked here, but I used the excuse I had to go to the bank first. So, but I'm new with the company. Just started in February this week. We also have a office in Milwaukee, so I was over there doing some training. But we just added a commercial furniture line. So that's what I'll be focusing on, but also moving, data storage, anything else.
Thank you. Thanks so much, both of you. Now, a couple of things are at your tables today. Our Community Expo is coming up on November 1st. It'll be right here at Wisconsin Distributors. We do have a few more exhibitor spaces left, and we have a great keynote speaker. Craig Benzel is the Director of Marketing and Corporate Sales for the Green Bay Packers, and he's going to be our keynote at 6 o'clock. Our topic today is our legislative update, and we will be addressing legislation that may affect your business. Rebecca Hogan is our speaker today, and she's the Director of Health and Human Resources Policy at Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, the state's largest trade association representing business. In this position, Rebecca lobbies the legislature on healthcare policy and human resource issues like unemployment insurance, workers' compensation, and the Family Medical Leave Act. Additionally, she answers member questions regarding policy and compliance related to these topics. Rebecca joined WMC in 2011 and previously worked 8 years in the Wisconsin State Legislature. Please welcome Rebecca.
Do I need the mic?
No.
No. Okay. Because I'm pretty loud. Hopefully. Okay. I just need to make sure. He gave me 3 different mouses to use. I have to figure out which one is my favorite. All right. Is anybody here unfamiliar with WMC and what we do? A lot of people know us by our issue advocacy that they see on TV, but we're much more than that. We lobby the legislature on business issues for business. We also have the Wisconsin Safety Council. We do OSHA training. We do CPR, first aid training. We have the foundation, which is the overseer of the chambers in Wisconsin. So we're the state's Chamber of Commerce. What else do we have? I'm missing one. Anyway, so we merged with the state chamber in 1976 after being a Manufacturers Association in 1911. We have over 3,500 members, and we are the state's largest business association. Our mission is to make Wisconsin the most competitive state in the nation to do business, and the way that we do that is mostly through our government relations efforts. The last session was very successful for Wisconsin. We believe that it was the most pro-business legislative session that we've had in recent history. When we started working in 2010, our ranking by CMO magazine in the state was in the country was 41st in the nation. And our goal is to improve on that. In 2011, we bumped up to 24th. And in 2012, we are now ranked 20th based on some of the things that we did last legislative session. CNBC's similar rankings in 2008, we were 37th, and now in 2012, we are 17th. Our next session's goal is to do even better than that. Oop, I went wrong. Last session, just a little bit of an overview, 748 assembly bills, 577 Senate, you can see all these. We lobbied on 159 of them. 43 of the bills that we backed were passed and signed into law. Again, it's the most pro-business session that we believe we've seen in decades. Some of the things that we did, we passed the manufacturer's tax credit. This basically is a tax credit that will offset the sales of manufacturing in this state. We believe that it will be very good for the businesses that are here. It will allow them to grow, and we also think it will be a reason for other businesses to want to come here and do business. The tax liability will be very small for these businesses. Comprehensive legal reform, this is what you hear when you hear people talk about tort, product liability, medical malpractice, expert witness issue. You now actually need to be an expert witness and know the issue that you're testifying on under this act. Comprehensive regulatory reform. When I worked in the legislature, I experienced a lot of rules that would come through our committees, and they weren't initiated by legislation, they were actually initiated by a state agency. And the legislature last session believed that any rule that goes through the legislature should be initiated by legislation and have the governor approve of that rule change. And last session we passed a bill that would require that to happen. Wetland permit reform, this is when people were trying to expand, build a new building. The DNR, a lot of people would have frustrations with DNR that they couldn't get a permit through. We've done some reform so it makes it easier for the DNR to say yes on a new building and wetlands. Also more mitigation. So at the end of the project, we're actually making sure that there could be more wetland there than was there before. The Department of Revenue regulatory reform, this was just some issues when you're filing your tax documentation. It was complicated, not always streamlined. This will help with tax time. The repeal obsolete air regulations. There were just regulations that the EPA was no longer dealing with, that this Wisconsin still had on the books, so we decided to repeal some of that to make it less complicated for Wisconsin businesses. And health savings accounts, we were one of the last states in the country to also have this federal tax that you could, the tax credit for health savings accounts, so you can use consumer-driven models in healthcare. So we think that will help with driving down the cost of healthcare. We have a very aggressive agenda for next session to keep this growth going. And bear with me, this is the first time I've had to present on this. This isn't even a final for our legislative agenda this session. Our board at WMC, which has about 50 leaders in Wisconsin business, will review this at the end of the month. But these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. First, policy priority, I have them broken down into 4. Fostering economic development and job creation. Well, what does that mean? We want to keep continuing to improve the regulatory climate. We want to make sure that when you have to deal with the government and you deal with any sort of process in government, that it is easy, you continue to have a positive experience. Reducing the tax burden. I'm going to get to my specifics here. All right, just want to make sure that I'm not going too, I think I'm going too fast. We want to lower personal and corporate tax, continue to lower personal and corporate tax rates. We want to federalize the Wisconsin income tax code. We want to reform the treatment of throwback sales, phase out the personal property tax, and adopt tax administration reforms. We would like to reform workforce regulation, reform family and medical leave. This is one of the issues that I work on. Some of you may be aware, state law and federal law are very different when it comes to compliance with the Family Medical Leave Act, and it's very burdensome for businesses to comply with, dealing with state and federal law. We'd like to make sure that the state law is as close to the federal law as possible, or that if the federal law applies to your business, you would not have to comply with the state law. We'd like to make it easy. This difference is a burden for businesses that are considering doing business in this state. It's hard to comply with that. Strengthen restrictive covenant protections, restrictive covenant language, non-compete language. Wisconsin, the judicial system in Wisconsin, it's very easy for them to throw out this type of language. We have with intellectual property issues arising not just in Wisconsin but across the world, with your trade secrets, things of that nature. When you have a restrictive covenant or a request that people do not take your information and go do business somewhere else, you want to make sure that that covenant is going to stand. So we would like to review and maybe potentially redo the state statute that covers this, so people know that when they're coming here or they're here, that their business is safe and the information that they have that is theirs as that business is safe. When they establish a restriction, that it will be upheld in court. It's very confusing when we talk to some of our attorneys who work with companies outstate. They say this is one of the reasons that they wouldn't consider coming here. They don't want to risk the intellectual capital that they have. Accelerate the payoff of UI debt. This isn't just a small business issue. This isn't just a big business issue. Right now we owe the federal government money. So not only are our employers being assessed to pay off the debt, they're also losing their federal tax credit. We would like to figure out a way to pay off the debt now, whether or not that's through bonding. I know there is an appetite with some of the legislators in the legislature right now to do more bonding, but if we could bond and create a mechanism to pay the state instead of the federal government, that federal tax credit would be back in play. And that's hurting, right? That's hurting. One of the other things that we're looking at with UI is, right now if you qualify for unemployment insurance, you need to do 2 work searches a week. We would hope that we have auditing done to make sure that people are doing those 2 work searches. We're hearing a lot about people not having to show that they're doing those work searches, and we'd like to make sure they're doing it. Otherwise, it's too easy to get unemployment insurance in the state. We want to make sure that they're getting it when they need it. We need to have the dollars there for those who really need it. Strengthen workers' compensation, healthcare cost controls. Workers' compensation is very complicated. I started at WMC in 2011, and I'm still having a hard time understanding our workers' comp law. But most importantly, healthcare costs of workers' comp are very high, and we would like to do more to address that. And one of the things that WMC has advocated for at the Workers' Comp Advisory Council is to allow employers to direct care for their workers' comp plan.